the Detroit Lions had a really weird loss to the Dallas Cowboys. So at one point, Jared Goff, he leads the Lions downfield on a touchdown drive, which eventually looked like it was going to tie the game and send it to overtime. But instead, Dan Campbell, being aggressive Dan, goes ahead and he rolls the dice and he says, F it. We ain't playing for the overtime. We're playing for the win. And I respect that. You know, I can expect a coach that's aggressive and takes calculated risk. You know, in life, you got to take chances to be able to get to the level that you want to be at. And you can't get there unless you roll the dice a couple of times. And you see, I don't have a problem with head coaches being aggressive. My problem is just don't be aggressive every single time. You got to have a good understanding of the way the game is going and the momentum. I listened to Urban Meyer a while back say this on Fox Noon Kickoff. He said that you just can't go for it just to go for it because you feel like it. You have to understand, you know, the magnitude of the situation in that moment of the game. And Dan Campbell, he went for it 3 straight times and didn't have any success. Now, the first time, they got screwed over by the refs in the black and white attire. Hell, with the way the refs were calling that play, you would have thought that, you know, Jerry Jones made a couple of phone calls and he put that fix in because you knew damn well there was no way the NFL is going to allow the Cowboys to lose on Jimmy Johnson night. Come on, man. And you got Cowboys fans saying, man, the refs missed the call on us. Man, fuck that. Who cares about that call? All I care about is the fact that the Lions got screwed. I don't like the Dallas Cowboys like that anyway. I wanted y'all to lose. So I could care less if the refs ain't call anything on y'all, man. I care about the refs screwing away the Detroit Lions because this was an awful penalty that they threw. Obviously, the left tackle went up and announced that he was eligible. But I guess, you know, they may be a little bit deaf and they didn't hear it. And, you know, the left tackle catches a touchdown, Taylor Decker, and all of a sudden it gets called back. Like when I was watching this game, right? Jared Goff had just threw that interception that led to a Dallas field goal. And I took the Detroit Lions plus 5.5 in this game. And I also picked them to win in my pick'em league. And I was looking at my homeboy and I asked him, I was like, hey, bro, like, you think Jared Goff going to be able to come through, bro? Because, I mean, he just threw this interception. He hasn't looked that great tonight. Like, is he going to be able to get it done? And I even went to the Bleacher Report app and went to the Detroit Lions community, and I asked them, y'all think Jared Goff going to be able to get this thing to overtime? And they was like, we don't know. I guess we'll see. Well, he leads them all the way down the field. They scored a touchdown, so that's one objective that gets complete. All they got to do now is kick the field goal and send it to overtime. But no. Dan Campbell has to go out and go for the win. And I was like, oh my goodness, they're going for it. And he already got the fake punt early. I'm one of those superstitious people. I believe if you get lucky doing something risky the first time, you shouldn't try your luck again. And Dan Campbell, he doesn't believe in superstitions, I guess, because he got the fake punt and he was still making aggressive decisions in the game. And him going for 2 was a big balls decision. And I was like, okay, Dan Campbell, let's see what you're going to do. You got Ben Johnson, so let's see what he's going to cook up. Well, you cook up that pass to the left tackle, Taylor Decker, and it gets caught. And I'm like, oh my goodness, they just won the game. I was going crazy. I was hyped as hell. And then all of a sudden, I see that dirty laundry being thrown on the field, that golden flag on the field. And I was like, oh my God, I hope it's on Dallas. Please be on Dallas. Of course it wasn't on Dallas because it's Jimmy Johnson night. So you know it wasn't going to be on Dallas. You got the penalty. Illegal touching, offense. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking they're just going to say bump it. They're finna kick the field goal. But you know what Dan Campbell does? He goes for it again. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, Dan Campbell. No. Kick the field goal. And instead, they go for it. They don't get it. It's an incomplete pass to Amara and St. Brown. But then they get bailed out and they get a third opportunity. You know what they say? Third time's the charm, right? Offsides penalty on Michael Parsons. I'm like, yes. They're going to kick the field goal. No. They're going for the third straight time. And as soon as I saw them line up to go for it again, I knew they lost the game. And they didn't get it. And I feel Dan Campbell going for it those other 2 times were emotional decisions. You know, he was pissed off at the refs. Like, bro, Dan Campbell's face was scorching red. Like, his face was redder than a red light. And then you also had number 70. I mean, he was steaming. I don't know why he was so upset. Like, I don't know if a penalty got called on him or not, but he was just as pissed off as Dan Campbell. Hell, number 70 for the Lions, he may have been more madder than what Dan Campbell was. And I asked you guys after the game, did Dan Campbell make the right decision, opting to go for the win instead of kicking the extra point to send the game in overtime? And the majority of you guys were pretty split on it. You guys don't have an issue with Dan Campbell's aggressiveness. And I can get that. You know, you're going for the win. There's nothing wrong with that. You already done locked up the division. You're already in the playoffs. You're trying to get the 1 seed. You got to roll the dice. I get that. You don't have anything to lose at this point. But when you don't get it the first time, I felt you should have just went for the field goal or the extra point to send it to overtime, because at that point, you having that, you know, emotional letdown already kind of took you out of a good mind frame to be able to execute at a high level. And for Dan Campbell, he made 2 emotional decisions, continuing to go for it for the 2-point conversion. And I really didn't like that call. I really didn't like the illegal touching when the referees were already notified by the left tackle that he called himself eligible. And there's even replays on Twitter. Even Troy Aikman was saying how, like, he called himself eligible. You feel me? So if Troy Aikman is calling the referees out on their bullshit, you know it's a bad call. And it's so bad that the NFL ended up downgrading the whole entire referee crew for this after this game. Like, they're not even going to be able to coach or be able to call a game in the postseason. Thank God, because this is the same referee crew that screwed over Kansas City a while back when they were playing the Packers, if I'm not mistaken. But you can always put the outcome of the game on the referee. Yes, you got cheated out of that 2-point conversion, but you still should have had a better understanding of what the feeling of the game was if you're Dan Campbell. Your team just got an emotional letdown with that illegal touching call. And at that point, you should have just said, you know what? We're going to kick this extra point, take it to overtime, and we're going to sit back and regroup and regather ourselves and compose ourselves. Now, the people who say that Dan Campbell going for it 3 straight times on the 2-point conversion, he was right, because he knew his defense wasn't going to be able to get a stop. Didn't your defense just get a stop on that Jared Goff interception? And who would have known if you would have even had been on defense? Maybe you could have won the coin toss in overtime and drove downfield and got the game-winning touchdown. I'd rather play for overtime than put all my chances going for it 3 straight times for the 2-point. I already didn't get it the first 2 times. I'm really finna try my luck again. I love Dan Campbell as a head coach. I admire his aggressiveness. I love his attitude. But to me, him going for it 3 straight times to win the game were emotional decisions. And his emotions got the best of him. I really feel like Dan Campbell wanted to stick it to the referee. You ever play somebody on Madden and you throw an interception and you like, man, fuck this dude, man. I'm finna come out next drive and I'm about to be slinging that rock again. And you throw a couple more interceptions. You see, football is an emotional game. And you have to be able to control your emotions. Because as humans, we don't make the best decisions when we're in an emotional state. You want to know why? Because we're not thinking clearly. We're thinking with emotions. And as a head coach, you got to be able to be cool, calm, and collected at all times. You have to be able to keep your composure so you can make the best possible decisions. And Dan Campbell in this situation, as much as I like him as a head coach, I don't agree with the decision to continue to go for it 3 straight times with the 2-point conversion. You didn't get it the first time. You got bailed out the second time. Let's just say, you know what? Let's just take this game to overtime. Now, if you're one of those people that are going to say that, you know, you agree with Dan Campbell's decision making, I'm not going to get upset with you. I'm not even going to disagree with you, because I do like his aggressiveness. I just feel like at that point, with you having the illegal touching penalty, it took so much out of your team that I didn't believe you were going to be able to get it done having that much of an emotional letdown. That's just my thoughts on this. But you guys comment down below if Dan Campbell made the right decision trying to get the 2-point conversion 3 straight times and coming up short on every single opportunity, because I was really against it after they didn't get it the first time. And when they didn't get it the second time, I was like, okay, bro, like, you got to kick the extra point. You just got to. I'd rather play for overtime than just, have this game come down to another 2-point try that I'm probably not going to get. But I guess Dan Campbell believes in the old saying, third time's a charm, but it definitely wasn't a charm tonight. You know those refs weren't going to allow the Dallas Cowboys to lose on Jimmy Johnson night. Just go ahead and play for overtime. But that's just my thoughts on Dan Campbell's late game decision making against the Cowboys. I really was pulling for Detroit to win, and they damn near got it done. But the referees just didn't want it to happen. And Dan Campbell, I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel he was wrong to go for it 3 straight times. I just feel like the judgment wasn't coming from the best state of mind, if that makes sense.